When you hear some of Donald Trump's comment, you start to ask yourself questions. Is he doing right now what he wrote in his book? Because he explained in his book that his style of negotiation is to start very high, threaten people, and if the person doesn't break and he sees that, things are pretty high, then he start to calm down. That is probably what we are seeing going on in Iran. For all this week, we have been hearing that Donald Trump is sending his so-called armadas and all these Abraham, whatever name is for those aircraft carriers close to the coast of Iran. And he's saying clearly that what he's sending there is way more powerful than what they had close to Venezuela. Then today we're hearing almost all day that he has been talking to the leaders of Iran based on him, right? He's saying that they want to negotiate. The foreign minister of Iran came out and said, no, we've never called Donald Trump to negotiate. That is not true. Now he's saying, well, he would rather negotiate than to end up bombing. What does he want in return, right? In terms of negotiation, he wants Iran to stop enrichment of nuclear for their nuclear power. It's not really nuclear weapons. They are enriching for nuclear power. And also, he wants Iran to limit the ballistic missile program. They have hundreds of thousands of them. And during the June conflict with Israel, both the US and Israel learned that Iran doesn't even need nuclear weapon to destroy Israel completely, right? So they can just go ahead and use their ballistic missile program where they have hypersonics and regular ballistic missiles and destroy every adversary that it could have. Iran has an entire city of ballistic missile. If you start to destroy their ballistic missile, it would take you months to finish. We cannot even imagine how many ballistic missiles they have. It's extremely, extremely large scale, okay? And so now Donald Trump seems to be bringing his threat down. Israel has claimed that they can absorb Iran's weapons. Right? They forgot that they are the one who were asking for a ceasefire in June. See, a lot of people don't understand that the main protest that we saw in Iran very recently was actually triggered by Israel and the United States. The CIA and the Mossad worked to collapse the Iran's currency. And when they did that with their traders inside Iran, they funded this protest. And that is how the people came out and started protesting. A lot of them were paid to bring a lot of other people out. And then they were using Elon Musk's Starlink system. And that is how they triggered this protest. So it wasn't just a natural protest that started. And so they thought that this was their opportunity and that the protest was going to get to the point where they finally seize the government buildings, government authorities and all of that. And then from there, they can come in and bomb. They fell miserably. Ever since the last conflict with Israel, they are on the lookout for a new conflict. So first thing they did was to shut down the internet. And when they shut down the internet, they realized that people are still going online. And they were like, what is seriously going on? Found out that many people had installed the Starlink system without the permission of Iran. They say there were about 40,000 Starlink systems in the country without the country knowing about it. And so the way it backfired on the Mossad and the CIA and their agents inside Iran is that not only that, Iran was able to jam that system, but also track all of the traders, right, by using this same system. Whoever will go online using the Starlink system will be tracked, right? So it turned out to be bad news for them. All of that was surprising for the West. In fact, Iran has spent more time during all these sanctions surprising the West. Some of you remember during the Obama time, they sent a drone to Iran, right, to try to spy on Iran. And Iran was able to capture the drone and land it safely. right? And started reverse engineering. And we remember Obama saying, give us back our drone. They were shocked. And that is how the drone industry of Iran started. And today, Iran is the fastest and the best drone maker in the world. Every single time that the US tries something against Iran, it always backfires on them. Now is the Starlink system. Don't be surprised if Iran capture all those Starlink stations and then reverse engineering them and then come up with something totally different. And then next thing you know, people in the West will start to say, oh, well, they stole our technology and all of that. Well, you shouldn't put yourself in this type of position. With all of those surprise, right? This is what stopped the US and Israel from attacking. Remember, Donald Trump was saying, oh, well, if we see a whole lot of death, we are going to bomb Iran. Nothing has happened so far. Even when the Western media propaganda is pushing for war, some people are even saying, we saw 60,000 deaths. Keep in mind, there's still no internet full-time in Iran, right? But where do they get these numbers from? All propaganda, all. Some say 30,000, some say 60,000. The more reasonable one will come in and say 6,000. Who knows, right? But the aim here is to encourage the US to bomb Iran. And so when we see the US emptying their military bases in Iraq, Qatar, and other places, and then bringing the armada, the carrier on the sea, we ask ourselves the question, how do you empty military bases that are close to Iran because you fear Iran's response, but at the same time, you are bringing another military base on water close to Iran? When we put all of that together with what Trump is now starting to say, we're starting to realize that this is just a technique to try to bring Iran to the table. But Iran is not going to come to the table. They've already said that. They said we are ready at 200% to respond to any attack. That is what they're focusing on. They're not focusing on sitting down with the United States. It doesn't mean that they are rejecting. No, they're not rejecting anything. If the US wants to sit down, they can sit down. But Iran has already made it clear they will not accept any threat. So Donald Trump is going to find a way to get himself out of this situation again. Now, like I said in my previous video, Netanyahu doesn't care. He's going to do everything in his power to drag Donald Trump in this madness because he has no future, right? If he misses this opportunity, he may end up in jail because what other conflict is he going to bring? The only conflict he can bring is the one against Iran. So the question now becomes, is Donald Trump changing his mind about attacking Iran? Because as we see now, everything is going against the West. If you attack Iran, the number one thing that you need to worry about is Iran responding. They will not hold back. They have hypersonic weapons that the US doesn't have. They will sink all those carriers on the water. That is what they will start by doing. And then they will respond by bombing Israel in the very sensitive areas of Israel. The second thing is to worry about the economy because there will be no oil, going in that area. Already we can see that the air spaces are closed, whether it's in Israel and Iran. It is so bad for the West now that it's not just Iran who has to close their airspace. Even Israel will have no choice. Aircraft don't want to go there because even when they're not saying it out loud, they know very well what Iran can do. And that alone can tell you their fear, right? And then you have to worry about, countries like Yemen. The Houthis already say they will start again, and they are very good at attacking ships going toward the West or going toward the US or any other place. So they are going to attack US ships and their allies. Then you have to worry about the death. That is maybe the biggest worry because the US is going to lose soldiers this time. What happened in June is nothing compared to what is going to happen this time. The US and Israel are the biggest loser. They're the one who don't have sanctions. Iran has sanctions. They're the one who are attacking Iran. Iran is defending itself. And they're the one who don't want to lose anyone, right? Iran has been losing people already and they can absorb it. But the West is not going to accept having militaries dying. Iran is free to go all in. So when the mainstream media propaganda comes and tell you all those lies, all you need to ask them is very simple. If the US and Israel are that powerful, what are they waiting for? They don't need to negotiate. Let them show us how powerful they are by attacking Iran.